Yesterday night, it was at night around 10 p.m. before I slept. I was disturbed a little bit because I received so many calls, and the person was not actually calling, but she was, I don't know whether you call it flashing. You know, when someone calls you, then there is this reverse. I don't know, you have the experience, someone calls you, you answer, you pick the phone says, if you want to receive this call, press this, and how do you call it? Reversing, yeah. So the person calls the first time, it was a known number, I never received. The second time I never received because I fear a known number, by the way. Then, the third time it was too much, I decided to pick the call. When I picked the call, it started saying this funny, if you want to reverse, if you want whatever. So I say, okay, it's okay. I picked the call. Then it was a lady. She tells me, Father, I'm sorry to disturb you at this particular time, and I don't have airtime, that is why. I say, it's okay. Then she says, Father, I need some spiritual. It's actually urgent what I'm going through right now. I need you to help me. It's a spiritual matter. Anyway, we started talking. After like 5 minutes, it was a serious issue. After 5 minutes, I realized that my airtime was gone. I do not have enough airtime also. Then the phone just stopped. Now what to do? In that case, someone needs your help. You have begun helping her, and the phone goes off because you don't have airtime. What do you do? Then immediately after that, when it happened, it not even take 10 seconds, I received a message from Safaricom. And the message says, Okoa Jahazi. You call it Okoa Jahazi, sindio? And they say, are you running out of airtime? Usitense. Then they told me that you just dial, star 131 and H. This is actually what I did. And I got actually an hour. Then I was able to talk with that lady, and eventually I helped her with her situation. Now, why am I bringing this? Simply because we see in the first reading St. Paul before the trial. Actually, the story is about the trial of St. Paul. St. Paul is brought before the leaders, before the judges. They're accusing him to have taught or to be preaching not the truth. Now, when Paul is brought before the leaders, there are two groups here. We have on one side the Sadducees, and on the other side we have the Pharisees. Now, if you look at the history, you will realize that the Sadducees, there were this group of people who never believed in the resurrection of the dead. Why they did not believe? It's simply because they said in the first 5 books of the Bible, there is nowhere where the word resurrection is mentioned. It is what we call Pentateuch. Did you know that? You know the word Pentateuch, isn't you? So we have the first 5 of the book of the Bible: Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and so on. So in those books, there is nowhere where it is written the word resurrection. That is why the Sadducees, they never believed in the resurrection of the dead. And you have the other side, the Jews, the Pharisees, of course, who believed in the resurrection of the dead. Now, when Paul is brought before the trial, Paul says, what should I do? What to say? And I like the attitude of Paul, because he confused his enemies. He confused those who accused him. He sees Sadducees this side on one side, Pharisees on the other side. Then he tells them, guys, what wrong have I done? If I preach to you about the resurrection of the dead, And that is how now these Jews, these Pharisees, they had to defend Paul. They say, no, leave him alone. He has not taught false teaching. And I pray today that all those who are accusing you in one way or another, that may God can give you power to confuse them. May God confuse your enemies. Amen. Amen. Now, after that, Paul was released. Of course, they took him. No, they never condemned him. And God tells Paul the following day, take courage. As you have testified about me at Jerusalem, so you must bear witness also at Rome. When you stand for God, God is also going to stand for you. How many of us today, we may not be having the same trial like St. Paul, but we are just accused falsely. People are propagating, bad news. They are speaking bad of us simply because of standing the truth. It does not matter what people say. If the truth, you know the truth, I'm telling you, you stand for it. And when you stand for the truth, God is also going to stand for you. When people are accusing you, remember, God will be your Okoa Jahaz. Just the way Safaricom saved me last night, the same way God will save you. Sawa. You are being accused falsely. Dial not star H31H, but dial God is the one who is going to be your Okoa Jahazi. Tumsifu Yesu Kristo.